Well, Gujarat Titans did what we expect the number one team or the top of the table team to do. They rocked the Delhi Capitals early on. Mohammed Shami with a 4-wicket haul in 4 straight overs. That also sees him record the best figures in this year's IPL and claim the purple cap for now or for himself. It took a bit of a recovery for an innings that otherwise looked like could well end in double digits, but they managed 130 somehow. We look back at that innings on Visit Saudi presents ESPNcricinfo T20 Timeout. Shaun Tait predicted 200, he's about 70 off. Deep Das Gupta predicted 180, he's about 50 off. So he's gone into hiding, has Deep, and we've got Matt Roller and his biker Avatar. Yeah.
At least I was brave enough to come down after my prediction.
That is exactly what we expect from
Matt
him.
claims upstairs, he claims he predicted 130 upstairs.
He's a liar, Matt.
We didn't hear that, yeah.
Analysts aren't, he's not an analyst, but he comes from that school of thought. Remember, if he doesn't say it on air, it doesn't count. But boy, what an opening spell. As a fast bowler, you must have really enjoyed that. It was classic quality fast bowling from Shami, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was sort of, I'm not going to say test match bowling, but those test match lengths and nick-offs and all that sort of thing, traditional fast bowling. Obviously, there was enough in the wicket. Not a lot, but there was just enough there. But regardless of the wicket, he just gets that wobble, that lovely seam, and just that enough wobble to create some doubt and yeah, obviously make it difficult for some pretty good batsmen. So yeah.
Is he a bowler that it's because of his form and experience tends to get more nicks than say some of the others? He might be a good lesson for. We spoke of Tushar Deshpande earlier. A lot of these younger bowlers on how to just keep it simple.
That's exactly what he does. Keeps it simple. He's just got great wrist and fingers behind the ball, and he just puts the ball in the right area. And consistently enough, you do that consistently enough, you're going to wear a purple cap, which is what he's doing. And the impressive thing, it's both left and right-handers. It's not just the one. So he's given trouble to both. I guess this wicket sort of is becoming a place that suits him to bowl with a new ball.
Yeah, I mean, I think when T20 teams come about, Matt, don't they? They want a bowler to strike early. Everyone gets the skill set or the package. Not everyone delivers like Mohammed Shami.
Yeah, and when you talk about the point about T20 teams sort of constructing their squad, I think they bought Shami at that first auction they were at for just over 6 crore. So he's looked like a pretty good buy for them, given how well he's led the attack for a couple of years now. And if you think he's someone that probably until his mid-20s didn't actually have much of a record at all in the IPL, he's really come into his own now, and I think he's on course for his best ever IPL season at this stage. I think he's got 20 wickets a couple of times before, but he's already on 17, wearing the purple cap, as Tait says, and on course for a pretty strong season. He might even, they're going to qualify pretty soon, it feels like at least, so maybe he'll have a couple of games to rest up and get himself in peak condition for those knockouts. Yeah,
it's a good point, because he is India's best bowler on form along with Siraj, you think, now with Bumrah gone. And now after this game, that's, what game is this of theirs? This is the 9th game. That's 8 games before this, 9 games now, where he's bowled 4 overs on every occasion but one. He's bowled 3 on one occasion. And you almost think, we've got to manage his workload. He's bowling a lot. Yeah. But you wouldn't want to be managed at this
I don't know if he's that sort of guy, is he? He doesn't strike me as a bowler that likes to put his hand up and sit out. He just likes to run in and bowl, and it's almost like he's got that hardened body now, fast bowling body, to continue on in all formats. But in saying that, they do have a couple of fast bowling options on the bench. So who knows going forward? But right now, you just want him playing for your team and make sure you qualify at the top of the tree for the playoffs.
Can you tell with the way a bowler runs in as to how he's feeling? It looks like Siraj and Shami run in a little differently from some of the others.
Yeah, I mean, Siraj is charging in at the moment. He's full ball all the time. I just think that they're both up for the contest. They're both bowling. The difference between those guys at the moment, I think, is that even though it's T20 cricket, they're still bowling like those good cricket lengths, getting enough with a new ball, enough movement. But they just keep it so simple. And you watch them play an ODI or a Test match, and it's similar sort of stuff. So not a lot of it's not. A whole lot of change-ups and all this sort of thing. They both present a good scene. They both attack the wicket hard, and they're always there or thereabouts in that area.
23 for 5. I wonder what you think of if you're in that Delhi dugout, because you've literally tried every batter there is, and this is where you are, 20-odd for 5.
Yeah. It's pretty horrible stuff, isn't it? I think they've done pretty well to get to 130. It's one of those impossible situations as well for the batters coming in, where you think, do we knock it around, which is obviously what they did, or do we, shoot for the moon and try and get 160, however unlikely it is, and risk being bowled out for 60 odd. Given Delhi are in a spot where net run rate doesn't feel like it's going to be particularly relevant to them by the end of the season, maybe they should have just kept swinging. But I suppose you've got a certain amount of pride in your performance as a professional as much as anything. And Axar and Aman Khan sort of scrapped them up to that sort of score. But yeah, it does feel as though Delhi are changing stuff every game, still, as they have throughout the tournament. It doesn't feel like any of the guys coming in are necessarily better players than some of the guys they're replacing. And it just feels like we've got to that stage in the tournament where they're kind of going nowhere and just drifting along. Yeah,
the risk of playing 3 overseas batters, and a few teams have done it, is eventually on some days it just sells you short. You might have Salt get a few runs and Warner's in great form, but the minute you play 3 overseas batters and they get out cheaply, there seems no recovery to that, does there?
And I think particularly, you think of that moment where Priyam Garg and David Warner are involved in the big mix-up, and you think, should Garg at that point, obviously this is all part of the instability, and I'm sure I know they've been in the same Sunrisers squad before, but they wouldn't have batted in the middle together loads. There's some poor communication, whatever it might have been. But you do think, should Garg be the one who's sacrificing himself? Should he be the one sacrificing himself? I think he probably should and get Warner through, but as soon as they lost him, having lost Salt first ball, it felt like that's pretty much done.
Yeah, I mean, Garg has only just joined this team. He was a replacement player. He wouldn't have even been with them at the start of the season, but it's a team that's almost inviting some ill fortune too, with the rest of whatever's going on. And now it begins to think of whether who was outside was better than who was left out. Prithvi Shaw is not part of this. Sarfaraz in and out. Yash Dhul given a couple of games. Now, do you sympathise with Delhi, or do you sense, no, if that was the best they had, they should have just kept going with it?
Yeah, I tend to. I mean, Prithvi had his chances, obviously, but you look at it today, and I was thinking upstairs while watching this, it would be great if he was in the team and doing okay. The fact is, though, he wasn't. So we'd all love to see him in there making runs, and that's so important after losing punt. Then Shaw's not, it's the other big Indian batsman who's not performing. It's a huge loss, I hope they don't mention the wicket, because they did ask to bat first, didn't they? So I hope at the end of the game they don't talk about the wicket, because they...
Maybe they'll wait for how Gujarat go. They're like 130 for 1 in 13 overs. There's no mentioning the wicket there. Aman Khan, though, gets a 50. We were wondering what sort of what his track record is, because there isn't much of Aman Khan. He's not known outside of a few circuits in Mumbai, and they traded him, funny enough, as a player. He was not someone that they clearly rate him. What do you make of that half century? It had a bit of fortune, but it's a good innings with the context of the game.
It is a good innings, absolutely. And obviously he went slowly for a while and then eventually caught up a bit as well. So good signs for him. And when he got his 50, I'm not going to joke and say that there hasn't been many for Delhi. So, but everyone stood up in the dugout for a 50, and the head coach was one of them. So obviously he's popular, and they think something of him. To be quite excited, albeit they needed a 50.
I guess these are the small victories in what looks like a damned season for them. That if Aman Khan gets 50, then suddenly think, he's still part of our plan going forward. I don't know if maybe Priyam Garg also thinks, I've got to try and get a score here. Otherwise, it's back in the auction, and last year there were no takers for him. Perhaps they're in that space?
Yeah, potentially. I think, when we talk about Aman Khan as well, I think Ponting was quite big on him pre-season, and admittedly there are a few players that Ricky Ponting was big on pre-season.
That's why he was standing up.
There are a few players that Ponting sort of talked up pre-season, including Prithvi Shaw, who probably haven't gone that well, but I'm sure he would have been pleased, given the context, to have seen this guy that he's clearly, someone in the setup at least has identified him, recommended him. They've given him the opportunity, and he's come in and done well tonight. And yeah, he looks a good player. I think obviously quite a sort of tall guy, long levers, good reach, and obviously maybe not the archetypal innings from a lower middle order player in T20 cricket, coming in 4-5 down early. But you've got to have something about you to be scoring a half century from that position against that sort of attack as well.
Yeah. We'll see if Aman Khan is around for the future of the Capitals. Well, at this stage. We could see Ricky Ponting's going to be around for the future of the Delhi Capitals also. It tends to be a result of bad season. Anything can happen in these IPL franchises. Now, I did see Yash Dhul padded up for some time in that. So they were obviously flirting with the idea of the impact sub coming in, which often happens when you have a batting collapse. They clearly waited till all their batting resources were exhausted. And as it turns out, there was a partnership between Ripal Patel and Aman Khan that somewhat salvaged this 50-run partnership between Akshar Patel and Aman Khan before that. So a couple of half-century partnerships have taken them to 150. But from what you understand, from what you perhaps are trying to advise teams of how to use the impact sub in a different manner, do you sense 20 for 5 is where it potentially could have been put in? They could have got 150, 160 then, if with a batter.
I think the event where they would have done that, I think if Marsh had been fit, if he'd been well and played ahead of Russo, I think they might have been able to trust that they had enough bowling. But I think it was probably the right thing to have Doull padded up and to have the option and then see if they could scrap up to this sort of score, because you're realistically never going to defend something like 80 or 90, but at 130, bring Khalil in, try and swing the new ball, nick a couple out early if they sort of go with him, Ishant Sharma, Amrit Nortje in the power play. You can see a route where, unlikely as it may be, but if the new ball moves as it did for Gujarat and as it did for Gujarat in their most recent game as well, at this venue that is, you can just about see how it might happen. So I think it's probably the right call to have left it for Khalil Ahmed, but I think that these are the occasions that teams will consider subbing in the batter, like we saw with Punjab earlier in the season when they brought Sikandar Raza in.
Yeah, or they've got something, because we saw less than this defended, albeit on a very different surface last evening. Do you sense with what you saw, Mohammed Shami, that Ishant Sharma, Amrit Nortje, Khalil Ahmed, it's not a bad first three bowlers to have?
It is.
But can they make a game out of this?
I doubt it. I mean, you mentioned those guys and they're all very good. I just don't think it's anywhere near enough, obviously. It's... yeah, and the thing is, you mentioned as well, it'd be interesting to see the new ball in the second innings, because, like you just said, bowling first, Shami's done this before, but then Delhi decided to bat first, which we spoke about pre-game. So that maybe ends up being a pretty poor decision.
Yeah.
We'll find out, obviously, but maybe we can talk about that more. But yeah, I think the fact that this has happened before at this ground with the Gujarat opening bowlers, and then batting first, anyway.
Yeah. They have a good bowling attack. If they could have had Gujarat in a similar spot or other, it might have been better chance. But all good in hindsight. Let's see if we get any of our panelists fancying anything other than an easy Gujarat win, Matt.
And we're going to get a lovely half-century from Shubman Gill, and he's going to end unbeaten.
Yeah, he's already in as the impact sub, and Mohit Sharma is out. Tait?
That's it, yeah. That's, I think...
Yeah, that's it for Delhi.
That's it. It's gone. It's done.
You've signed the warrant.
Although my predictions are pretty much...
Yeah. Well,
out the window.
All right. It looks like it should be an easy Gujarat win, but if we are in for a surprise, it should make for quite the chat. Otherwise, you think now it's fair to say, even you could have said it ahead of this game, that it's going to be a long shot for Delhi. Mathematically, if they won every game, they would have given themselves a great chance, but it's only going to look tougher and tougher if this becomes an easy Gujarat win. Big thank you to Matt Roller, who dressed up just for this. You're going to see him very soon. We've got a big game to catch tonight between Arsenal and Chelsea, so let's hope it's an early finish.
He can ride his motorbike home with his motorbike jacket.
That's how the Gunners are. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Teddy. More from Shaun Tait. We'll have Deep Das Gupta. We'll send a search party for him and get him back for the end of the show. Join us then on Visit Saudi Presents ESPNcricinfo T20 Time. Out, check out the app. There's lots of news going around. You want to catch up on what happened in the love affair in Lucknow last night. Lots being said and read. So go ahead on the site. It'll have you covered. We'll see you at the end of the game.